Right, we are live. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, super intelligent shades of the colour yellow, however you identify. We couldn't care less, to be fair. Right, welcome Meghann with two N's, our good friend Meghann, who used to be on the channel regularly for a while, and then she had better things to do, as do everybody, because life happens and stuff. But anyway, she's back, which is awesome. So, for those who don't know, Meghann is a solo mum of a teenager, a self-employed business person of some repute, and an all-around superhero, aren't you? Tell us all about it.
I am a superhero. Thank you. Do you want to hear like my story? Like, what do you want to hear?
Oh,
Like,
look, tell us anything that you think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Tell us what you do and who you want to do it with and how you want to do that and
Okay,
where
let's
people
do
can get in
this.
contact with you to do that. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so I am a little bit of a health geek. I had a lot of issues at an early age. My health journey really kind of starts at age 9. I was a very obsessive compulsive child. I had anxiety, depression, OCD, ADD, ADHD, all of the things, right? And my parents thought that they were doing the best thing for me at the time. They put me on psych meds at a very young age. I was medicated for about close to 20 years. Throughout the years, all of my problems just manifested. And I kind of had a moment where I was like, you know what, maybe these drugs are actually causing me more harm than good. So I also struggled with severe food addiction. I think the drugs really, they gave me this undying appetite. So I grew up as the chubby kid. I was bullied at a young age, always felt dumb because the drugs just literally made me like a zombie. I never could think clear, nothing. And so I kind of just grew up feeling very insecure, had no self-confidence, basically felt worthless. And so in my teenage years, I thought, you know what? If I have nothing to offer this world, maybe I can be pretty. Maybe I'll just try and get fit and see what happens, and then I'll have something to offer to the world. So I started dabbling with fitness, and started to like I like seeing the results I was getting. And so I started dabbling with purging. So I didn't look at it as disordered at the time, but I was struggling with bulimic behaviors. As I said, I was addicted to food, right? So I had to undo all of this damage that I was doing in the kitchen. So I would spend hours working out in the gym, purging through exercise, and also making myself purge in other ways. And so that went on for many of years. At this time, I'm still on psych meds, but at least I look good, right? So 20, I got pregnant. I was a very young mom, knew my daughter's father for about 3 weeks, had no college education. It was a freaking nightmare. I decided to give birth to my child, the best thing that ever happened to me. She changed my life. She saved my life. And so during my pregnancy, it was traumatizing. I lived in my bedroom the whole time. I ate Ben and Jerry's every single night. By the time I had given birth to her, I was over 200 pounds. And I'm not a big girl. I'm 5'3", so 200 pounds on a 5'3" girl is a lot of weight. So as soon as she came, I got back into the gym, and I was back to those old destructive behaviors in the gym. So fast forward to about age 24, I like to say that I was having a bit of a quarter life crisis. Still really struggling with my mental health, anxious, depressed. I was nannying at the time to pay the bills because at that time, what I was getting compensated for, it was a good salary for not having a college education, and not to shit all over college education, but you don't need a college education to be successful. But that's a whole other story. So anyway, I learned that down the road. So anyways, I'm having like this quarter life crisis, and I'm starting to think, you know what? Maybe these drugs that I'm on right now are literally making my life 10 times worse. Maybe they are hurting me. So found this book called Anatomy of an Epidemic. And it was basically a book that says the epidemic that we're in with the constant prescribing of medications, what they're doing to our children, what they're doing to us long term. So it had a lot of light bulbs off. light bulbs go off, and I immediately decided to get off these drugs. Now, for anybody who is listening to this, never cold turkey off of psych meds, ever, ever, ever. I unfortunately didn't know well enough at the time. I was young. I read this book. I was so angry and upset and sad. I was like, you know what? I want absolutely nothing to do with big pharma. And I cold turkeyed. Okay. When I cold turkeyed off of these drugs, I was in psychiatric drug withdrawal for about 5 years. It was living hell for 5 years, but within those 5 years, I accomplished more than I ever had in my entire life. I pursued firefighting. I pursued physical fitness, training, all of these things, because I was not going to play victim. I was going to take this very messy story and rewrite something beautiful and empowering. So about 5 years, during that 5 years, my food addiction manifested. It got worse, out of control. Then I got the help that I needed for my food addiction. That's a whole other story, but it was everything I needed. I got food sober, cleaned up, and got on a clean path with food. Now, during that time, as I'm, recovering from psychiatric drug withdrawal, I am finally in a good place with my food addiction. I ended up having a traumatic brain injury in the fire service. So started my new career, fell backwards out of the ambulance, landed on my head, went unconscious, had a brain injury, thought I was going to be fine. Once again, here I am, square one, in a mess, picking up the pieces. Long story short, ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it kind of opened the doors to what it is that I do now, which is full-time remote coaching for food addiction, health, and fitness. So long story short, with all of the struggle that I have been through and having to basically rewrite my story multiple times, it is my life's mission to basically help people rise and help them build healthy lives. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell. I tried to be pretty quick on that because it's long.
Awesome. Yes. And, we're very, very pleased that you've come through all of that and glad that you're with us. And we really did enjoy your input to the channel a while back when you were doing regular spots. And it's great to have you back here again, even just on this one-off occasion, because I imagine that you're pretty busy and successful doing what you're doing with the coaching and stuff. So tell us, who is your ideal client? Who are you looking to work with? Whereabouts in the world might they be? Do they have to be anywhere specific? And how do they find you? How do they get hold of you for you to help them with what they need help with?
Yeah, so my specialty is in food addiction and weight loss. So some people, maybe you're struggling with weight right now. Maybe you have been told to eat everything in moderation and balance this and balance that, and that's not working for you. There's a good chance that you're struggling with food addiction. So that is what I specialize in. Maybe you're not somebody who is struggling with food addiction, but you're just trying to live a healthy, sustainable lifestyle. So that's where I come in. I work with people literally all around the world. And that's why I love the interwebs, as you would call it, right? And the best place that you can find me right now is on Instagram. That is where I'm most active. And you can find me on there at Meghann, MEGHANN Alice, ALICE. Send me a message on there. I also have a podcast called Meghann Unfiltered, where we talk about all of the things.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Very good. So the name of the game for the rest of the session, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, super intelligent shades of the color sky blue pink, or lovers of the brand new formulation of Stem Enhance, which is hardcore carnivore, available only in Australia and New Zealand presently, but we're hoping to go international soon. The name of the game is questions and answers. So here's what you do. You put a large capital Q, you then put a colon, then you write your question in full, no abbreviations please, suffix the whole thing with a question mark, and that will help His Eminence Lord Edward Yellow, King of the Bears, to find your question and to twiddle all the right knobs and bring it up on the screen so that we can deal with your question. Like this. See that? A Q, a colon, a question, and then a question mark. Perfect, Eliza. You can stay. Everybody else, get out. No, seriously. All right. Can I unblock my carotid artery with the carnivore diet itself? Thank you. What do you think, Meghann?
So that's basically excessive. That's atherosclerosis, plaque buildup. And I'm not sure what the studies are. I have listened to some doctors in the carnivore space that say with time it can decrease. Bart, you may be a better one to answer that question.
Sure. Okay, fine. Yes, the blockage that you'll find in carotid arteries in people that have blocked carotid arteries is indeed usually atherosclerotic lesioning, which is the deposition of scar tissue and sometimes clotting factors and clotting materials in the endothelial linings of those vessels, thus reducing the diameter of the lumen, the space, and causing blood flow issues and sequelae like, well, depending on where the blockage is, heart attacks, strokes, those kind of things. Atherosclerosis, bad stuff. The cause of it is, well, there are several things that contribute meaningfully in a cause and effect manner to atherosclerotic lesioning. They are chronically elevated blood pressure, chronically elevated blood insulin, which, by the way, are also concomitantly, together usually, endothelial cell injury, and or, well, I'm talking physical, mechanical injury, and or the other thing is chemical derangement such as glycation and oxidation of various components of the tissue known as your blood. That's basically what causes it. The best way to assist your body in getting likely to reverse that disease process is indeed by eating a species-appropriate, species-specific diet, which my channel has been quite clear on what that is. Just while we're on that, let's get back to you for a moment, Meghann. Tell us, what kind of diet do you support?
So I'm very big with carnivore, ketogenic, low carb. So low carb is about 150 grams below. Ketogenic is about 20 carbs or below. Carnivore is pretty much zero carb. I am one of those people. I don't think plants are out to kill us. However, plants can actually hurt some people if they have issues with the anti-nutrients. However, I don't, when we're talking about carbohydrates, I believe that we should be eating foods from the earth always. I think processed foods, packaged foods are slowly killing us. So yeah, I'm a big advocate for a meat-based diet, 100%. And it is 100% sustainable. I think it's crazy how people don't think it's sustainable, because if we're talking about our ancestors, how did our ancestors survive? They survived off of meat and berries when they were available, and when vegetables were available. So that's what I'm for.
Perfect. All right. Sounds great. I'm all for that too. Say what gives? Well, we do. We continue to give freely from our hearts without charge so that people like you can learn. That's who gives and what gives. We do. You could give back to us if you like. You can super chat us. Also, you can probably do yourself a favor and go and get yourself involved with Cereal products. Stem Enhance, Sciactive, and Plasma Flow. Best taken together. They're very synergistic. Also, you get a price break that way. Does this diet, I guess you mean carnivore, does the carnivore diet lessen anxiety, and would low fiber be a cause of this? What do you think?
So, from somebody who was medicated for almost 20 years, 100%. I'm a huge advocate of this diet for mental health, for helping restore mental health. 100% diet. A poor diet is going to contribute to poor mental health. What you need to realize is that food is information. Okay. So if we are fueling our bodies with garbage, we're going to feel like garbage mentally and physically. So 100%, yes, the carnivore diet can 100% help with improving your mental health significantly.
Yep, absolutely agree 100% with all of those sentiments. Yes, garbage in, garbage out is definitely the situation in the human body. And most of what you can buy in a supermarket that isn't located around the outside wall of that supermarket, everything down the middle in the aisles, it's all crap. All of it, pretty much. There's nothing good in there. Stay the hell out of there. Don't go there. And if you do, make sure you follow the yellow footsteps on the floor and be good and comply with all directions and stuff. I'm just joking. Don't do that either. Yeah,
Go the opposite way.
That's right. Do the opposite of what they want you to do. Look, anxiety and other forms of mental illness, a very large contributory factor is a chronic systemic inflammatory overburden. And the easiest, simplest, most direct route to being chronically inflamed is to eat garbage. Stop doing that, the inflammation goes away, and people start talking about how all their mental health problems went away. Certainly happened for me. Sounds like it happened for Meghann as well.
Yeah.
We're just two, but there are many more N=1 stories that say the same thing, so it's probably got some value in it, I think. Right, I think we're done with that. What's next? Is it biochemically impossible to get gout or excessive high uric acid from red meat despite the purines?
I'll let you answer this one.
All right. No, it's not impossible. It's just not very likely. Because gout is often blamed on what they call uric acid. It's actually not even uric acid, it's urate. At physiological pH, there's no such thing as uric acid. It doesn't exist in the form of an acid. It exists as dissociated ions. It's urate. And urate is not the cause of gout. Inflammation is.
Yeah.
You need inflammation plus a high level of urate. By the way, a really good way to get inflammation and a high level of urate, the easiest way, the most direct route, eat fruit or high fructose corn syrup or table sugar in a large amount. All of those things will lead concomitantly to an increase in the inflammatory propensity and also to an increase in the urate in your system. Much more than eating meat will do. Any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
And I think too, like, and maybe you can correct me, but I think you need to look at your diet as a whole. Is it the red meat that you're eating that's causing the health issues, or is it the bread? Is it the fried food? Is it the beer and the alcohol? Like all of those things, and chances are it's probably not the red meat.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Right. So do you need to take vitamins every day?
I mean, I take a lot of supplements, but that's also because I've got a lot of issues.
All right.
I have chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So I do take a lot of supplements. However, I don't think with an appropriate diet, I don't think it may be necessary to. I think a lot of people actually struggle with digestion. So you can have the most nutrient dense diet, but if you're not properly digesting your food, you may not actually be absorbing those nutrients. So I do think digestive enzymes for a lot of people are probably a good idea.
Okay, cool. My response to that question would be always aimed straight in the middle of the bell-shaped curve, because like all commentary on this channel that I make has to be generalized. Look, on a case-by-case basis, there are people that really ought to take various supplements, yes. But your average person who has no obvious health issues, so that makes them not average, actually. But let's say a person who is otherwise healthy is eating a strictly carnivorous diet or close to that, or a very low carbohydrate diet of some kind, and is fit and well and is expressing no signs of problems, deficiencies, or shortfalls of any kind, they probably don't need to take. They could take some supplements if they wanted to for precautionary principle. Being careful not to take too much of the wrong thing, because that can be just as much of a problem as not enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the average person, the ideal normal person with not too many problems probably doesn't need to take supplements. What I'm saying is you can get everything you need from a carnivore diet.
Yeah, I think too, like focusing on, like, if you're just starting your health journey, there's no need to be having to like add in all these supplements. Your number one focus starting out should be let's eat real freaking food and start there.
Yep, absolutely. According to my doctor today, n equals 1 means nothing, lol. Yes, I'd laugh at that too, because it does mean something. It means there's an anecdote from one person. A lot of people say, well, anecdotes don't mean anything. Well, they do when you put them together, because a bunch of anecdotes put together equals data, doesn't it? Then all you need to do to get good, powerful, strong data with good veracity is have good control. Then you've got science. Crazy stuff. You also claim that fasting does not raise cholesterol levels. Whether that's correct or not, my response to that is, who gives a fuck? Who cares? Your cholesterol level is under the control of your genes. Your genes know what they're doing. How's that? Any advance on that, Meghann?
I think there's a lot of people who are giving misinformation on cholesterol. I will say that.
Yeah. I was thinking about getting a co-host that's an attractive young lady called Misinformation. I reckon that'd be cool.
That'd be really fun.
Like, if I can't hire somebody to play the role, I might have to AI generate this person.
That'd be good.
Yes. So, hello, Misinformation. Tell us all about it. And she will say the wrong things, and I'll correct her. Because I'm a misogynist.
Yeah, you'll call her out.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Right. Okay, what do we got here? In terms of losing weight and fat, well, which? Specify, because it's not the same thing, is it? But, okay, in terms of losing weight and fat, would fasting be compatible with the low carbohydrate diet? Well, you can't do both at once. You have to do one or the other on any given day, don't you? I guess the question is generalized. I guess the question is, like, is fasting any good?
Yes.
What do you think? Do you use fasting? If so, when so, how so?
Okay, so I think fasting can be a wonderful tool, not just for fat loss, but for many other health benefits such as autophagy, cell generation, all of that stuff. But you want to, when you're doing it, you want to be doing it appropriately. I think fasting is like working, it's like training for a marathon. Okay. So like building that fasting muscle. So if you are a female, you want to make sure you're not doing it in your luteal phase or during that time of the month. You want to make sure it's after your cycle. And I would start, if you want to start getting into fasting, I would recommend starting with like a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window and work your way up from there. What would you say, Art?
Oh, perfect. Brilliant. Absolutely that. I too suggest fasting to various people at various times, case by case, when there is an indication that I think that person would benefit from fasting. And we do absolutely start gently, as you're talking about, with that, what is ostensibly a time-limited eating window on any given day. I don't even actually call that fasting. My operational definition of fasting is the lack of food intake for 72 hours or more.
Yeah.
Up until that, it's just not eating, frankly. And the reason that I do that is because at 72 hours, that seems to be the magic mark where the metabolic magics starts to really get to full noise. So that's why.
How often do you do 72-hour fasts?
Personally, rarely these days, because most of my issues are under control.
Yeah.
The things that I had to get under control with fasting. So it's not really indicated for me. Plus, there's also bugger all excess body fat sitting on my body.
Yeah.
I'm about as lean as I want to be.
Yeah, that's great. Anybody who is struggling with insulin resistance right now, fasting is a wonderful tool that you could kind of add in your toolbox right now to create some insulin sensitivity.
Cool. All right. Would a carnivore diet work even in the presence of dairy, milk, cheese, butter, etc.?
Yes, it can. It's technically carnivore. However, I see a lot of people abusing dairy and over consuming dairy. So if you're having an appropriate amount and you're not eating ridiculous amounts of it, I think it can be definitely appropriate. But I also see dairy holding a lot of people back, and it can cause, from what I've seen just in my practice, it does cause a lot of weight stalls. So just keep that in mind. But yes, dairy is technically carnivore. It comes from an animal.
Yeah, absolutely agreed on all counts there. Just explain to us, Meghann, if you don't mind, what the potential issue with too much, or potential issues with too much dairy may be.
So I think that many people actually can have an inflammatory response to dairy, and they don't even realize it until they eliminate dairy altogether. So example, I know for me personally, when I start to add dairy into my diet, I get fluffy. Like, and I'm not even eating a ridiculous amount of it. My body just seems to have an inflammatory response to it. And I notice I get fluffy when I eat it. My stomach doesn't feel amazing either. So you're going to have to be the one to decide whether you think dairy is right for you. With that being said, butter, I can have butter. I cook with butter. Butter does not have an effect. But for me, I like right now, I am doing dairy-free carnivore. And I'm not doing cheese. I will do butter. I feel great. Yeah.
Nice. Yep. Inflammatory response, potential, more so or less so. It's quite individual in terms of how you individually will react to dairy. Also, there's a difference between A1 and A2 for most people. Also, there's a difference between bovine dairy and, say, goat's milk and whatever else. So, you know, if you're really determined that you must have some dairy for some reason, you don't, by the way, you don't need it. But if you do like it and you do want some, there are all sorts of things you can play with to find the thing that might work for you better, potentially. The other thing to keep in mind about dairy is that it does contain a significant amount of sugar inherently.
Yeah. Milk especially.
Milk. Yeah. That's why the butter thing isn't a problem in that regard. And also that doesn't seem like people react to butter.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that most people that react to dairy are actually potentially reacting to the lactose.
Yeah.
The sugar. So yes. All right. Do you avoid cooking in aluminium foil or aluminum? The word is aluminium, you Americans. It's not aluminum. It's aluminium, for goodness sake. And yes, I do avoid it. What about you, Meghann?
Yes, I do my absolute best to avoid it. Believe it or not, I actually, there was a time when I had little to nothing. And I kid you not, I was surviving off of canned tuna for many years. Not like every single day, but I was eating a lot of canned tuna. I was drinking a lot of seltzer waters. I actually got a test done, a blood test done, and my aluminum was extremely high. And the second within 3 months of eliminating aluminum, it went down to baseline. So, yeah, I do my best to stay away from anything aluminum.
Aluminium.
Aluminum.
I'm kidding. Aluminium. I'm only teasing. You can call it whatever you like. Right. So, my cholesterol levels were too high in my blood test. According to whom? On the basis of what? No, they weren't. False. They were exactly what they ought to be. They are under the control of your genes. Those genes reacting to the environment in which you place those genes at any given time. Those genes being the absolute peak of evolutionary process over at least 3,800 million years to this point. Your doctor has not been around for 3,800 million years. Yes.
Bart, while we're on that topic with this question, maybe you can, because I know it inside of my brain, but like I don't do a good job of explaining it. Can you maybe explain to people why cholesterol is not the problem and how actually if we are reducing cholesterol and being put on statin drugs, actually how you can literally get dementia?
Yes, and other things. Look, the roles that cholesterol play in the human body are myriad. There are many, many roles that cholesterol plays. It's one of the most important lipid substances in your body, and as such, your body actually itself manufactures around about 80% of the cholesterol that's in your body at any given time.
Yeah, without it, we die.
That's right. So insufficient cholesterol means dead. Very, very quickly, in fact, very quickly. The theological belief structure held by certain professions around cholesterol being in some way causally involved in the process of heart disease is absolutely, demonstrably, and unequivocally incorrect. It's false. It's a bought and paid for lie. heart disease is caused by a number of things that do not include cholesterol or any of the lipoprotein carriers or any subfraction of the lipoproteins, in fact. Yeah, that's basically the short version. If people want the long version, including all the science and references to the papers that support what I'm saying in this regard, they should probably watch my playlist on my channel, which is called Cholesterol Videos or something very similar to that. I think there's about 60 different videos in there. Many, many hours of scientific education for those that want to be educated. For those, like this complete fuck blanket here, that just want to have an opinion, well, you're just going to have an opinion anyway, aren't you, sunshine? Sodding, chubby-looking hell. Who is? Neither one of us do. We're both
fabulous.
Beautiful. We are. We're beautiful. We're absolutely stunning. Neither one of us is remotely
you see this
chubby.
glowing skin? This glowing skin is from all of the meat that we eat.
Exactly. I think your sayings, probably meaning my sayings, are bad and scientifically dangerous. Well, here's the thing. That's an opinion. And opinions are just like assholes, aren't they? Almost everybody's got one, and it's almost certainly full of shit. And yours definitely is. How about we try this? One of the mods, can you please show Bashful?
Yeah, and hold on real quick here. Those scientific papers that you're probably reading, you know who they're funded by? They're funded by Big Pharma, okay?
That's right. Yep. So I see that Mark is here, one of the mods. Mark, could you please show Bashful Fest the door, please? Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Bye.
Bye. Of course it's a good idea. Everything I say is a good idea because everything I get from His Eminence, the King of Bears, Lord
That's
Edward
Teddy,
Yellow.
right? It's Teddy.
Lord Edward Yellow Ted. He's in charge
Yellow.
here, actually. He's the bloke that taught me everything I know. He's been with me since the very beginning, which is nearly 53 years.
Oh, damn. Are you serious? That teddy bear's that old?
Yes.
He's in good shape, man. Nice
Well,
work.
he's actually older than me because he must have been manufactured before I was manufactured because he was given to me at birth by a now late auntie.
Oh, I love that.
So there you go. And I've had him ever since. There you go. So he knows everything. So if anybody wants the dirt,
he knows it. He's been through it all.
And if you want to ask Ted anything about Baldy, that's me. You need to go to that other platform, the one that used to be called Twitter, formerly. The one that's, not called Twitter anymore. And you look up HRH, which stands for His Royal Highness, _ Ted, T-E-D. He's got his own profile. He does his own thing over there. He says his own stuff. I can't control him. Neither can I get him to tone it down. Anyway, if you're into that sort of thing, that's where you find Ted. All right, good. Carnivore for 2 years, good. Still suffering from psoriasis, okay? Any new thoughts on the condition in general? Do you have many thoughts on psoriasis?
I do, actually.
Cool.
I would... So psoriasis is typically your body saying, hey, there's something going on inside of me, right? And it's showing up on the skin because that's a form of inflammation, right? So diet is amazing for many things, okay? But diet alone is not always going to heal everything. And I think people need to know that. So for me personally, I actually, and I'm not saying this is the case for you, but it might be something that you look up. I would research CIRS, C-I-R-S, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, okay? It can be biotoxin illness, mold illness. There could be a few things going on. Have you ever been exposed to mold? Have you ever been exposed to a water damaged building? So I mean, this could be a long discussion, but I'm just going to have you start with look up CIRS, C-I-R-S. And that could be an underlying culprit. So like if you do have biotoxin illness, and you have the genetic type where your body does not properly detox biotoxins, you're potentially having these biotoxins roaming around in your bloodstream, wreaking havoc, and you may need to be put on a protocol to get these biotoxins outside of your body, and food alone is not going to do that.
Awesome. Agree entirely. In my practice, I propose and widely promote 5 health hacks, which are all designed specifically around reducing a person's chronic systemic inflammatory overburden, because I have found in 6 years of consulting with people since I gave up being an academic that everybody tends to show up with a very limited number of pretty much the same conditions and complaints. Every single one of them is underpinned by an inflammatory process. So people say, this is my background, this is my experience, these are my signs and symptoms, this is what's going on. And I go, sounds like chronic symmetry? No, chronic inflammatory process. There are 5 health hacks that you need to undertake, I would suggest, to deal with that. The first and most important of which being a fully 100% carnivore diet. The second most important being 3 products from the fine folks at ItsRoundLike, those being Stem Enhance, Ultra, Thiactive, and Plasma Flow. Cha-ching! Bill's played for the day. That's good. They are a great product line. They're all synergistic. You've got the stem cell release agent, the anti-inflammatory, and the blood flow optimizer. Get them together in a wellness pack because it's cheaper that way if you're going to buy them and pay for them at all. If you want them for free, let me know at the email address underneath this live stream. That'll be in the show notes later if it isn't already. And I'll tell you how to get them for free if you want. Otherwise, you can buy them. That's great, and it's the cheapest way to do it that way. The third most important thing you can do is ground yourself electrically for as much time as is possible in your life. At the very minimum, you should sleep in a bed that is grounded using a grounding bed sheet, which you can get from all sorts of companies like Amazon and eBay and whatever else. Pretty simple, straightforward technology. The fourth most important thing to do is block the wavelengths of light known as blue from your eyes if it's nighttime, not if it's daytime. And the fifth most important thing to do is 3 or 4 sessions a week, 45 minutes or so per session, high intensity burst and repeat and or resistance training at something like a work to rest ratio of 1:5, that kind of intensity as in high end. Never the middle range intensity, never aerobic endurance work. You can do as much very low intensity walking and whatever else you want. You can do as much high intensity as you can tolerate and do, but stay the hell out of the middle. That's it. That's my 5 hacks, basically.
Bart,
what do you think of that? Yeah.
Do you have a suggestion for the Blu-ray blockers for at nighttime? Because there is so much on the market right now. And how do we decipher which one is the one to go with?
Yeah, you want to get lenses from a company that report what the wavelengths that their lenses block are. You want 100% blockage of all wavelengths between about 350 and 500, ideally.
Okay.
Or as close to that as you can get.
Perfect.
In other words, when you put these lenses on, first of all, when you look at them, that's the color they ought to be.
Right.
Because if they're not that color, they are not doing the job. Because by the laws of physics, if you block the right wavelengths, the blue ones, that's what you get, that color. It's a dark orange, dark amber color.
Yeah.
When you put them on and look at something that you know is blue, it should go black or gray or green, depending what color of blue it was in the first place and what mixture of wavelengths was in it. If you put the lenses on and you look at something that's blue and it still looks blue, no good. Doesn't work. They're not doing it. They're not blocking it.
Okay.
A really extreme example of that is these clear lenses that a lot of companies sell and say these are blue blockers for computer use that don't distort the color. Let's work this out for a second, shall we? If you put those lenses on and look at your computer screen and you can still see blue, it's not fucking blocked, is it?
I've always thought that was a scam.
Yeah, of course it is. It's rubbish. What those lenses are doing are blocking a small percentage of the blue so that you can still see blue. That's no good. You need to block it. 100% block it. And the result of that is dark orange. Has to be. That's physics. Sorry about that. No, the same physics that tells us that you cannot consume calories. Not one, ever. Neither can you burn them or spend them. No. It's impossible. Physics says that can't be done. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. All right, good. Going to Ballina on the 28th of March. That's 2 days before I'm 53. Until the 1st, playing lawn bowls. I'll give it a try for 72 hours then. Okay, so you don't want to eat at the lawn bowls tournament? Fair enough. Did you know, Meghann, that lawn bowls per hour of participation time is associated with the highest number of fatalities of any sport, including extreme sports.
Okay, I have no idea what lawn bowls are. We don't have those in the United States.
Okay, this is a game that's played on a grass surface that's curated and flat.
Okay.
And what the game involves is there's a little white ball called the jack, which somebody rolls down to set up what's called the head. And then teams take it in turns, or individuals or teams, depending. And they have these, what are called the bowls, which are a larger, heavier, wooden, round-ish thing that's like a ball but isn't quite round. And it's weighted on one side. And they bowl that thing out at a certain angle. And the idea is to get as close to the little white ball as possible.
Okay.
It's a game played by old people, mostly.
Oh, okay.
That's why the mortality rate per hour of participation in lawn bowls is higher than skydiving, extreme skiing, or any of those kind of things.
That's kind of a fun fact.
There you go. I just thought I'd throw that out there. All right. Yep. So antibodies are very high with eggs and dairy. Absolutely. When someone comes to me and says, look, I'm having a problem with my carnivore diet and I'm inflamed and I'm not losing weight and I've still got psoriasis and my guts are still playing up and I've still got mucus, and that's the first thing I said. And I say, well, get rid of dairy and eggs.
Yeah.
Come back to me in 2 months and tell me if it's still not fixed. Otherwise, that's your answer.
Yep.
Yeah? Yeah. It's a very individual thing, but a very large portion of the population just don't do well on eggs and dairy to some degree or another. How long have we consumed dairy? Not that long at all. Oh, about 11,000 years, 12,000 years. Meaning the dairy, the milk of other animals. Human milk we've been drinking all along as infants. Canned tuna is awesome. Who said? But I do agree with Bart that pronunciation is aluminium. Yes, it is. Aluminium. Correct. Yes. Is it okay to cook in ceramic coated pans? Do you have ceramic coated pans?
I don't personally.
No,
Yeah.
I don't either. We have cast iron skillets. That's what we cook with.
Yeah, that's what I always try to cook with.
This chat is insane. No, it's not. It's entirely sane. Entirely sane and sensible. Unless you mean what others are saying in the background.
Why is it insane?
I don't know.
understand.
Like the other thing, when I do these live streams, Meghann, often
This honestly, this Q&A with you is the most mellow one I've ever done. This is not
really,
insane.
yeah. Often there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat that I can't even see because, in the control panel here, I've got it set so every single comment comes up and I can see them all, and yet I can't see them all. YouTube is not sending them all out.
Oh.
There's fuckery going on, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Right. You will check that playlist. Good. That's a good idea. The cholesterol playlist. Hello, Andy C77.
Hi, Andy.
What is the most carnivore music? Hardcore, rock, and indie. Yeah, that's the stuff. But you do you. I think we're starting to run out of questions, if that's the kind of tenure of questions. Hello, Jonathan. Good to see you, mate. All right. Hope so. Hope it's all going well and Blighty. If you want to, anyone that wants to know about being a huge bodybuilder and how to do that, how to be a enormous jacked person, talk to Jonathan. That's his thing. Because he's huge and jacked and massive. Question, is it unethical for carnivores to do what? Is there more to that question?
Does he mean like,
Here
is
it
it
is.
unethical? Oh, okay.
Is it unethical for carnivore people to feed their pets anything but carnivorous diets? Depends what your pet is. Each individual species of animal has a species appropriate diet, doesn't it? You wouldn't want to feed a carnivore diet to your pet goat necessarily. That'd be a bad idea because that's not the natural diet for a goat. By the same token, you don't want to feed your cat a vegan diet because that'll fucking kill your cat. You know? Here we go. Meghann, do you think it's a good idea for Bart to add a sixth health hack that involves bench pressing 410 pounds? I don't know if you're aware of that in running joke, Megan. I finally managed to bait Richard Burgess, otherwise known as Vegan Gains, into debating me several weeks ago. And he was making all these claims about his knowledge and experience and stuff. And I sort of said to him, well, Richard, other than a high school diploma, what qualifications do you have? Knowing full well that the answer is none. He told me, well, I can bench press 410 pounds.
How long has he been a vegan for?
Well, who knows what it really is and what it really does, actually.
Well, it'll catch up to him if it hasn't yet.
Yeah, it will, but he's been claiming to be a vegan for quite some number of years, during which time he's got soft, pudgy, his mental health has declined steadily, obviously and patently.
I see a lot of people in the vegan space and even in the carnivore space, they identify themselves by their diet.
Yes.
That's kind of stupid.
Yeah. Them and cyclists and CrossFitters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine a vegan cycling CrossFitter. Which one would they tell you they are first?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably I CrossFit, and then the vegan would be second, and then the cycling would be third.
Yeah. Does heavy cream fall in line with all the negative associations of dairy?
So, once again, it is very specific with the individual. If you had a dairy issue, that small amount of dairy could be causing you issues. You're never, this is what I like to tell my clients is look at yourself as your biggest experiment, okay? Because there's no one size fits all. We're all very different. Dairy may affect this person over here. It may not affect this person over here. The only way that you are going to discover if dairy is an issue in your life is by removing it. Like I would say, give yourself like a minimum of 30 days, just 30 days to eliminate it altogether. See what happens. If you're feeling better, your skin's clearing up, you're going to the bathroom better, maybe your digestion is better, you know, maybe things start getting better, then I would say then dairy's probably an issue for you and it shouldn't come back in. But if you do, if nothing changes within those 30 days and you bring it back in and nothing changes, then you probably don't have an issue with it. I hope that makes sense.
That's perfectly sensible. Love it. Awesome. How long would you spend warming up before a short sprint session?
I would say 2 to 5 minutes.
Yep, perfect. I would too. Yep, spot on. Seems the most intolerants are related to SIBO, SIFO. Even carnivore cannot cure severe SIBO, which is correct, it cannot. Most people who cure SIBO gut dysbiosis can do very well with eggs, dairies, etc. Okay. What do you think? Fine. Sounds fine to me. What do you think, Megan? Anything wrong with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Sounds good. Good. All right. Oh, God. Let's talk about Harley Johnson, shall we? Why does Harley Johnson come up in every single fucking live stream I ever do just about? What is your people's obsession with his tosspot? He's an absolute fuck monkey. He's a cock blanket. I think the Durian Rider would agree with your happy conclusions. Durian Rider, Harley Johnson wouldn't agree with me on anything. He's a dickhead.
I don't even know who he is. Who is this person?
He's this Australian bloke who is a pusher of the vegan ideology.
Oh, okay.
And a very, very average club level cyclist who claims to be an elite athlete. No, he's not. And a proponent of rapid, patent, obvious aging and a taker of steroids.
Oh.
This is altogether a very sensible young man.
That's too bad.
Yeah, he's a dick. Oh, and also allegedly a sex offender.
Oh my gosh, I really don't like him now.
No, I really don't either. He's got quite a profile as a vegan influencer on the YouTubes, and as such attracts quite a number of young female vegans and allegedly preys upon them.
So he's a pedophile.
Well, I'm not suggesting necessarily that there's any claim of any underage carry-on.
Oh, okay.
But we're talking about, this is a guy in his at least late 30s, and we're talking about sort of, 16-year-olds, which is legal in Australia.
It is?
Yeah. You don't have to be 18 in Australia. You only have to be 16 in Australia. Same in New Zealand, actually. There's actually a joke about Australians and New Zealanders, which is very bad taste, that goes around, that goes something like, what is a virgin in Australia and New Zealand? And apparently it's a young lady that can run faster than her brother and her cousin.
Oh, okay.
It's not true. It's a bad joke, but anyway. Yeah, so that's Harley Johnson for you. That's Durian Rider. He's a cock. He really is.
He sounds it.
Yeah. I suggest he's probably also suffering from micro penis.
Probably with a vegan diet. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just making that up, but it's probably true. Yeah.
He's trying to compensate somewhere, and especially with the steroids, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The alleged thing about the sex offences there is allegedly it's not always consensual.
Yeah.
I don't think one's ever stuck yet, but there you go. Right. All right. Are we out of questions, boys and girls? Because we're getting on towards the end of our time slot. If you want your questions answered in the next 8 minutes and 37 seconds, probably the best thing to do is append a super chat to it, even of a small denomination. That will bring it to the top of the feed and bring it to the attention of His Eminence, Lord Edward Yellow. And he'll bring it up on the screen and we'll answer your question. While we're waiting for any final questions to come through, let's have another reminder, Meghann, of your social media. Where do people find you and how do they get involved? Yep.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Meghann.Alice, MEGHANN.ALICE. Send me a friend request, send me a message. I'm so happy, always happy to respond to messages with any questions. And then also I have a podcast called Meghann Unfiltered, and that is on Spotify and iTunes. So you can find me in those two places.
Okay, excellent, cool. Here's a sensible question which we can deal with just before closing off. Here it is. Saw on one of your videos, Bart, that you've discouraged sardines for somebody. No, not true. False. Complete misquote. What I said specifically to a young lady who is eating a lot of tinned sardines. And I said, that's a bad idea. There are two reasons it's a bad idea. Number one, they line those tins with plastic. Number two, if you tin a sardine in its own oil for a long period of time, it's going to be as rancid as fuck by the time you eat it. Very, very dangerous primary and secondary oxidation products, such as aldehydes, are extremely likely. And as such, you don't want to touch that with a barge pole. Sardines are great. Fresh caught that day. Not tinned. So that's the correction on your false statement about what I am purported to have said.
Okay, wait.
Go on.
So the sardine challenge, I'm sure you've seen the sardine challenge that so many people are doing out there. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea myself. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm also thinking about like exactly what you just said, what these sardines are actually lined in, the container they're in, and the oils that they're soaked in. I just can't imagine it's really that healthy.
No, it's not. I don't support the idea. I don't think it's a good idea at all, unless you're eating nothing but fresh caught sardines that day for a bit. And I don't think you should base your diet on that, because actually the ideal source of nutrition is ruminant muscle meat plus associated fat. You don't base your diet on seafood, ideally. Secondly, how about Jack Cruz claiming to eat more than 1 gram of DHA per day in the form of either supplements or food? Well, let me respond to that, because Jack Cruz is the other person that I'm asked about every single fucking time I do a live stream. I am acquainted with Jack. Jack is an associate. Jack and I have done several videos together over the years on various topics at various times. And what I'm about to say to you now, I have said to his face. This is not me talking behind Jack's back. This is me saying what I've said to his face. Half of what Jack Kruse has to say is nonsense. The other 50% is great. The idea that you should eat a lot of DHA, especially in the form of supplements, is daft. And Jack bloody knows that because he's seen the article that myself and Pim published where we had a look at what we found in commercially available DHA supplements. And it's a fucking nightmare in terms of aldehydes. All right? And Jack knows that.
So you're telling me, because I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly, you think those supplements are a load of bullshit?
Omega-3 supplements I would not touch with a barge pole.
Okay.
No way, no how. They are almost certainly rancid as fuck.
And oxidized, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's it. So the oxidation products are like all sorts of things, but it includes aldehydes. And aldehydes will disrupt lipid rafts, screw up your cell membranes. They'll kill cell organelles, not great, and they'll append themselves to your DNA. Possible carcinogenesis.
Okay.
Stay the hell away. Don't touch that shit with a barge pole. That's my take on that. And if you want to read that paper, it's in a journal called Nutrition in about 2016. It was published, I think. The primary author, Johnson, Jansson, not Pam, Pim, with an I, not Johnson, with an O, Jansson, the Swedish surname, Jansson, and it's called Aldehydes Identified in Commercially Available Omega-3 Supplements, a pilot study, or something like that. Cool. $5 super chat. Love it. See, that'll keep the lights on for 5 minutes. Does your body raise your... We do appreciate it, though. I'm not being flippant. Does your body raise your cholesterol to clean your blood from seed oils poison? My cholesterol dropped after I stopped seed oils. Your cholesterol level can indicate a level of inflammation precisely because, and cell damage, precisely because that is the raw material needed to repair the cell membranes, which are 50% cholesterol, by the way, by weight and volume. So you mess up your cell membranes, you injure your cell membranes, you need some raw material to affect the repairs, and that comes in the form of cholesterol. So that makes sense. Yeah? Cool. Predisposition to type 2 diabetes is present in my family. I tell you what else is present in your family, just like everybody else's. Shared behaviors. All right? Would this imply low ability to properly metabolize carbohydrates? Possibly, but possibly not too, because as I said, families don't just share genetics, they share behaviors too, including amylose, starch, and high propensity to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a construct, it's an idea. It's a falsely claimed underlying etiology of pathology. No, it's not. It's just a physiological response. It's covered by a thing called the Randall cycle, which I've also got a playlist on my channel if you want to have a look. Go and learn something about it, people. All right. You can have tax-free cash and lawn bowls. Good. Good. Thanks for that. All right, I think we're done. I want to thank everybody for your participation in this live stream. It's always gratifying that there's interest to hear what we've got to say here. And it's always a bit of fun as well. We don't want it to be too dry, do we?
Never.
We want it to be a bit of fun. Yeah. If you would like to see Meghann come back and see us again, like she used to, when she was less busy than she is now, I guess, then you need to send us lots and lots of super chats and tell us you absolutely get her back because she's the bestest thing since sliced bread.
Let me know. Private message me later, Bart, and let me know, and I'll definitely come back on because they are a lot of fun. All right. Yeah,
it's always good fun here. All right, so that only leaves one thing to do, really, and that is to sing the national anthem of the independent sovereign nation of Pimbatia, which is the farm that Pim and I have just bought a few months ago. We finally bought a farm, if you didn't know that.
I saw that. I love it. It looks beautiful. Is it kind of close to where you were before, or is it in a...
It is kind of close to where we were before. It's in the same region. We're in the Tasman region of New Zealand, which is at the top of the South Island, where all the best weather is. So we've got sort of 40-ish acres of grazing.
Do you get snow?
Very rare to get snow here, but it's not impossible. Mostly it's a pretty mild climate and it's pretty good. So we have grass all year round. And we're doing grass-fed, grass-finished sheep and beef. We also have goats and a number of birds. And it's all organic. We're not doing any pharmaceuticals or any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Are
And
you
we've
going to sell it, or is it just for you guys?
Well, we're going to sell some animals, and
Yeah.
we're going to obviously eat some of them ourselves as well.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
The idea is to get it to be at least cost neutral at some point, because at the moment I'm paying a mortgage on over $1 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh. So there's that. So that's why you should send me all your money, by the way, so that I can continue to be a farmer as well as do YouTube and stuff. But anyway, we've decided that our farm is an independent sovereign nation. This is the King Lord Edward Yellow. I'm the co-regent, and so is Pim. And we have a national anthem, and it goes a bit like this. Steak and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. Eggs and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. I think they got it, Ted. Right, join us next time when someone will be wrong on the interwebs, because that's always happening.
Thank you, Bart. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.